Okay, so I'm going to choose this. There's a dark green, blue, grey thing going on. And I think something like that on this page will do nicely. And I think also that if I decide to go in with a black background with stars on it, somewhere on the page, it'll probably match well to these colors. I'm going to keep this on the side so I can reference it and choose some colors. So I have my Derwent pastels here. I love them. Let's see. Just pick up some colors that I think are represented in that picture. Blues. Probably dark blues too. Let's see, not anything too. Grays probably need to be here too. Okay, let's take out the grays. Come here, come here. Let go. I'll skip the blacks. Okay, there we go. Now let's sharpen some of them. Alright, let's check what we pulled out here. Put them in some sort of an order. Try to go from lightest to darkest, but keeping them in color families, sort of. At least that's the way I do it. I mean, there's no right or wrong here. Let's go up there. And then we have the greens. Okay. And let's see what we pulled out. And this is how I usually go about color palettes. When I choose one, I will pick out some pencils that I think match it, and then I will swatch it out. Because you never know. Oh, that's a nice color. Should I zoom you in, maybe? Okay. Where are my Q-tips? Yeah, I don't have any, what's it called? Like Pampastella pliers or anything. I use Q-tips, it's fine. And I have some already used here for the greens. I think all those work. That one I think doesn't work though. Let's see, that's this one. Okay, away with you. Probably not that one as well. And this is just going by feeling, it's nothing really. Okay, that all works, I think. Good, alright. So we have those chosen. And now I think I probably need to swatch them out one more time actually, just to have the final order that they are laying in here, so I know which is which. You could of course have a swatch chart instead, but but that's not me. That's too organized. Yeah. I was to a party yesterday. It was a lot of fun. I haven't been to anything like that in years due to the pandemic. So it was really nice actually. There we go. And I also stayed and helped clean the place afterwards. So I came home at like 4 o'clock in the morning, which again hasn't happened in like years. So yeah. Alright, let's get started. So I definitely want the window to be light, I think. So let's go for something like this. They're kind of loud. These pastel pencils. I know some people don't like the scratchiness, both the feeling and the sound, so you know, in that case this video is not for you. And you have probably already left, I hope. But I don't mind. And then let's mix some of the gray into that. This one and this one. So that and that. Does anyone? I could maybe, yeah. Let me read the ones I've chosen out here. So I have the, and these are the Derwent pastel. I have the powder blue, and the pale spectrum blue, aluminium gray, French gray light, blue gray, French gray dark, indigo, pale olive, olive green, green oxide, and Ionian green. And those are the ones I pulled out. There's no guarantee that I'll be using all of them, and maybe I'll pull in something extra, but yeah. Anyway, I wanted to add the green oxide to the background here, so I've used the powder blue right now, the green oxide, the aluminium gray, and the pale spectrum blue, I think. And just a bit around the other. Where did that live? Probably here. Okay, good. And we have the pale spectrum blue, and I'll just want to have a hint of that. Something like that. Okay. Let's see how it turned out. And I do like messily go over the lines here, because partially because the Q-tip is a bit too big, but partially also because who cares? I mean, you won't notice it in the end anyway. I used to do a lot of like pastel bases, even back before I had the pencils. I just had the pastel crayons. And it's a lot of, it's easy to get nice smooth gradients for pale colors, and then you just use the normal pencil, or like the polychromos in my case, in the shadows, and you can get nice effects. Okay. Yeah, let's see, is this following the vibe? Yeah, I think it is. Good. This picture here has a lot of white in it. Let's see if I can. Yeah, it has a lot of white in it, so I'm keeping that in mind. Also like the or because I want to go for this vibe, right? You don't need to. You can just take the palette and not think about things like this. But for me, I usually, when I choose a picture, I try to think about things like that too. So I have a lot of white, and the dark colors are, there's a really harsh gradient between the dark and the light, right? Like there's no gradient actually, it's just like they're next to each other, the white and the really dark. So that's a vibe I want to capture somehow. Probably the easiest way is to do the window frame really dark. I'm almost... No, I'm not going to go in with a marker to do that. Instead I'm going to... Because like that would be the obvious choice, right? If you want something really dark, just take a water-based marker for that part. And a dark one for that. But yeah. Let's go for the Ionian Grey instead. Question if I want to have the... No, I'll just go for this. I'll just make the frame a base of this, and then I'll mix in other colors. Yeah, it's quite loud. Scratchiness. Let me move these a bit. There we go. Yeah, it's fun meeting people again. I mean, sure, I've been to the office, but I haven't really, as I said, I haven't really had a lot of social events lately. I don't know, just haven't really kick-started that or found the way back to the old groove. But yeah, I mean, it's also, of course, like I'm not student anymore. That also changes things. Otherwise, there were always like student parties every week. Yeah. Are these... No, these flowers are also a part of the flowers, okay. I thought it might be decorations for the window. Before I go in with pencil later on, I will do some cleanup with the eraser. And I'll see if I'll use fixative on this or not. I'm going to start with just not going into all the places here inside the flowers. I think I'll do that with pencil instead in the end. It gives me more control. Okay, something like that. Checking the reference again. Wait, where did this live? There. Sure, need to go a bit more with the blue, but that was my plan anyway. So let's add in these two. This is the French Grey Dark and the Indigo. I'll just sharpen the French Grey. There we go. Okay, I'll go in with the Indigo where I think it's the darkest. And that should be down here. And probably down here. And then let's take a bit here. And like, no, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just sort of feeling it out. Not even really thinking about light sources. I'm thinking this is... Yeah, it's not a night picture anyway. So then I'm going to go in with the French Grey around those, sort of over and around the blue. kind of messy. We like it messy here. Yeah, something like that. Alright, let's go. And then you can always, like, with the Q-tip, now I have some color on it, I'll just drag that into the flowers here, into the spaces that I see. I think it gives the pictures I do with pan pastel a bit of an extra. I mean, the fact that I do it like this, that I kind of am messy and drag in the colors into everything, you'll see in the end it sort of makes the picture a bit more, I don't know. It's like when I do my watercolor stuff. The stuff it ends up a bit muddy, but I kind of like that. It's I call it a stylistic choice. Am I shaking the camera? No, exactly, because it shouldn't be shaking. It's like it's not standing on my desk. It's standing on the windowsill next to it. Window pane, windowsill. I don't know. So yeah. I wonder which color the leaves should be then, if they should be like... Well, they should be lighter than the window, I think. Also the flowers there, they should be white, right? Yeah. I think so. What about the birds though? Darker or lighter than the background they are on? Probably darker because they have like the light window behind them. So maybe... I could go for like a weird red color for them. That would really make them stand out against this... I mean, not against... with these greens. Red would really make them stand out. We'll see. Okay. So let's see then. Okay. How about gray leaves? What do we think about that? I'm thinking yes. I'm thinking something like this. The pale olive, that color here. That one. And probably this one, the French grey light. Or is that the bird color maybe? No. Or maybe as well, but okay, let's go for that. Yeah, just... What about introducing a weird color for the flowers though? What about pink flowers? Like, I try to think outside the box, if the box is the color palette. Because there's nothing like really stopping you from going outside the color palette you've chosen, right? Yeah, I like that though. So, but the flowers could be... Pink maybe is the wrong choice. Just need to sharpen. But what about yellow? The only thing that's a bit difficult with pastels is that you don't want to put your hand in it. I think I've managed not to this far. Okay. And now let's... Not so sure about this. Sure, it could work. So here I'm finally being a bit more particular about where I put the shadow. It won't have that big of an effect in the end, but it will help me a bit, I think. Alright, that's some quick and dirty shading. I'm thinking I might want some green olive in this as well. I'll just put it in here and there. Something like that. Yeah, good. Let's go. And here, if I really wanted to, I mean, you see the shading barely even. I'm not particular enough with my smearing to make the shading really stick, but it does have a bit of an effect, I think. Trick is to have a bit of a cleaner Q-tip in the lighter areas, and then perhaps try to turn it around, so I always use the cleaner bit for the lightest area. Yeah, I'm really not an expert at this. Right. Okay, now a decision. Do I want to have like... I can erase this afterwards if I don't like it, but I want to have like a bit of a smeared out background, or will I want to erase that later? What do you think? Could be a cool effect. Make it a bit more dreamy. Maybe. Let me find somewhere to clean that off. There we go. Okay. I think it's probably time for the pencils now. Yep. So let's do some erasing first. A bit in the flowers. Not too particular about that. Oh, those leaves should be colored in as well. Okay. Maybe not more than that, if I'm going for this more blurry look anyway. Okay. Taking out my dear polychromos. And I am definitely going to be using the earth green. Olive green, yellowish. Let's see, the dark indigo. I think this is the, okay, no, it's sky blue. And let's go for a really dark green. Do I have a really dark green? Probably this one. Chrome oxide green. Let's start with that. Let's see what we can do here in the corners. Yeah, just neating it out where it's a bit more scratchy, I guess. Or where the pastel doesn't reach into all the corners. This is just kind of a quick layer above the other layers just to smooth it out. And we'll go in with the shading with indigo later on. But yeah, so that was my weekend. Or this is my weekend. It's Sunday now. Tomorrow it's back to work. I have so much to do, oh my god. But yeah, I think I said it before that I kind of like that though. I need my brain to be challenged a bit, otherwise it stagnates. So it's both a blessing and a curse to have a lot to do. Would like to do some more traveling this summer. It's been ages since I traveled anywhere. Like even before the pandemic, I was living on a student budget, and that doesn't really, at least my student budget didn't allow for like big travels. But we'll see how it goes this summer. We'll see. Me and my Sambo have some really funny anecdotes when it comes to traveling. I think I told you about one of them, didn't I? No, not really. But yeah, okay, so let me tell you about the time when we traveled to the... we were going to the south of Sweden. It takes like 3 hours there with the bus. And yeah, you know how it is. You like it takes 3 hours, as I said, and then suddenly on the highway, the driver said in the speaker sort of like that unfortunately there's been an accident on this highway, so we're but no worries, I know a shortcut. And so yeah, no worries. I'm like, okay, sure. And we drive down from the highway and it's right in the part of where the south of Sweden starts. There's like this, it's called Hallandsåsen, which is like it's like a long hill that's sort of like a barrier between the two. And it's not that, I mean, it's not like the Alps, but it's still a bit, it's a bit of a climb. and especially like for a bus it's a bit of a climb. And the highway goes straight over it. But the accident was right before that, so we drove off the highway and then started like, you know, slowly going zigzag over the barrier. And the bus driver wasn't the only one who had thought of this, of course, but there was like there was like a truck in front of the bus. And halfway up the trucks, I mean, the drama started, right? The truck suddenly got stalled. Like, okay, will we need to like go backwards the whole way down, or what? Will he get it started? He did manage to get it started in the end, and so they continued climbing, and in the end they ended then up on the hill, right? And the road keeps getting narrower and narrower until we're driving like on with this big truck in front of us and this big bus behind on like a countryside, barely, I mean, it wasn't even it didn't even have a concrete, you know. It was just like this really narrow road with big where farmers have like their plants, crops on both sides of the road, so like it was a bit raised up, you know, and then you had the big the crops on either side of the road, and sure, like they're, you know, everyone is like looking out the window and like, we'll see how this goes. Sure enough, we come to a part where this really narrow road takes like a 90-degree turn, and the truck can't go around that sharply, and neither can the bus. And they both stop. And like, you know, everyone in the bus is like, oh, we'll see. Okay, now we'll probably have to go backwards the whole way down this narrow road backwards, and then backwards down the hill again. And there was like a businessman, because there's always a businessman, who was late to his meeting, you know, and his time was so much more important than all the others ones. And it was like really... it was comical. It's like a caricature of a stressed businessman getting late. He was so angry. But and then a miracle happened, because one of the farmers who had like his crops next to this road, he saw what was happening, and I mean, like, this, it doesn't sound real, but he had a bobcat, like a small, digger. And he literally went to a pile of sand he had with his bobcat, picked up some sand, drove it back to the road, and like widened the curve until the truck and the bus could take it. And it was like, I mean, it was like in a movie. But yeah, so we did manage to get like around that curve in the end, and I think we were like only half an hour late, and if we were instead would have been stuck in traffic, it would have been longer. So I mean, success? Question mark. But yeah, it was like really funny. Yeah, and I mean, what are the odds really? That not only is the farmer like home, but he's also like got this bobcat and has a pile of sand that he can use to widen the road. Just beautiful. Yeah, I'm using the earth green now to just smoothen out the leaves. Maybe shouldn't have gone for maybe should have gone for some other color, but we'll see. This is probably fine. That's how it goes. And we've also had like incidents where we were, you know, when on the paper the trip is supposed to take like, I don't know, 6 hours, and when me and my sambo try to take it, it takes 12 instead. There was once when in Piran, in Slovenia, you can take a boat to Venice. I think the trip is supposed to take like 3 hours by boat. But the time we were taking it, we took it. Apparently, there was like a carnival going on in Venice or something, which meant that the big, not the Grand Canal, but like some, I don't know, one of the boat couldn't go as quickly as it wanted. It had to go like really slowly, so the whole trip, instead of 3 hours, it took us 6 hours there, and instead of having like, I don't know, 6 hours in Venice, we had like 2. And then on the way back, apparently the guide or the captain thought they would try an alternative route to get home faster. So we drove into this sort of industry area, which was really odd, in the middle of nowhere. Then they saw that they couldn't continue there. They had to turn around the boat and drive back. So I mean, took ages. And it's not, yeah. Really. But that's how it goes sometimes. So we got like, I've been to Venice quite a bit, but it was my sambo's first time, and we got like, as I said, maybe 3 hours there, but we did like have enough time to go get lost, and that's like the main thing I want to do when I visit cities. I mean, sure, seeing the sights is fun and all, but exploring small alleys and then panicking and trying to find a way back, that's where the adventure lies. So yeah, we did have time for that. So in my book, that's mission accomplished. And yeah. Otherwise, I liked being in Venice in probably in winter, like not in the really touristy parts, but in like the outskirts, still in the old city though. I had like I think it was with my violin course at the time. I was like maybe, I don't know, 14, something like that, maybe younger. And Venice in winter is really empty and quiet, and all these old alleys and the channels have like it's a lot more magical. But yeah, that's how it is with tourist places, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to like one of my favorite memories in Prague also is like going to the castle at, I think it was like at 11 o'clock in the night, and there weren't any tourists there, and it was just, that was in September, and it was snowing, and it was like really beautiful and really cold, really, really cold. And Prague is like full of this really old, spooky trees. I love it. I love Prague. So yeah, I do love traveling. I really wish I could do it more. I haven't been outside of Europe ever, which is also a real pity. I would love to like road trip around the USA someday, from coast to coast. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so now I think I will go in with the indigo. And really sharpen up these edges. To trick the viewer or whatever into like thinking that it's a bit more detailed than than it actually is. In my opinion, it really helps to keep the edges sharp. So I don't need to blend out everything, but I do like where the colors suddenly change. So like from this frame to the background, there's that's nice to blend out. I went over the line there though. Let's see. Good. Or like to get really dark there and really particular. I don't know. Hey, it works for me. Let's see, I don't want to go too far down there because I don't exactly know where the edge of the window is. Yeah, I can always come in and darken more places later on, so this is not really the flowers here. I'll leave that at that. Sorry for turning around the book, but I have to. So here, for example, also I'll do like a gradient from really dark under the... Let me zoom in. So this border here, I'll do really dark here and then do a gradient downwards. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see if I manage to finish this on camera. Otherwise, I won't. It's not harder than that, but like, it sort of depends on... I have to go do some grocery shopping today, so it depends on how quickly this goes. Alright, let's see. So sort of adding some dark patches to the windowsill. I don't know if it's called windowsill. I know it's called window pane, but I think that's like the thing where you can put your flowers, right? I actually checked that out. Okay, a bit more here. And now I have the song by, what are they called? I don't know. But the lyrics have the words window pane in it, so of course my brain is like, oh, yeah, this song, hey, let's put that on repeat in your head right now. Thank you, brain. But yeah. I think it's called window pane. Now I need to look it up. Yeah, exactly. Window pane, pain as in something hurting, by Xenia. That's the song that I have in my head right now. Fun times, fun times. Probably should fix it with this. Like feeling myself putting my hand into it, but that's how it goes. Okay, let's darken up this part. Alright. Okay, then we need to darken this up here. Maybe blue flowers. What do you think? So many decisions. Blue flowers is usually my go-to, I think. Like when in doubt, my flowers turn out blue. So here I went like around the dots or under the dots. I don't know what my plan for the dots is, but yeah. I also don't quite know what my plan for the... if I want the frame to be as dark as possible at the corners, like, you know, Hanna does these Hanna does these lines here. Like for example this line or this line. So I'm not sure if I want the darker part to be on above the line or under. But I'm thinking under. Maybe. Or like a middle thing of both. I don't know. Something like that. Okay. Sort of itching for my markers as well. Just because I'm impatient like that. And the markers are really good at, you know, really making colors pop. But no, I think I'll try to be patient instead. Do I like that? I think I do. Can smoothen out the edges. Sort of losing the blue there though. Maybe I don't want too much of this blue, but I'll put it in a bit here and there. I'm wondering if, yeah, that's probably a thing I need to do. I probably need to go in with a bit more brown in these leaves. And I need to... yeah, that's right. I think I need to do that. Okay, I have a plan. So this blue is all good and all, but I think that will help also. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go in with the cinnamon. Just a little bit. And not in every leaf. I think this might give it a bit more interest. It's as if adding a bit of blush. The leaves are blushing. Okay, not sure I like that, but it'll be alright. And then let's go with a bit of cream. I think I'll especially use this on the leaves on the edges here. Because sure, white is good and all, but I don't want it to look like I haven't colored it. And again, then the edges are probably more important than the inside stuff. It's my theory at least. Sorry for being out of frame. Maybe I should zoom out a bit again. Yeah. Alright. Okay. And now we need to go in with the dark on the leaves. I'm actually going to cheat a bit. Where are my... Give me a second. Here are some grey markers. Sure. I'm just going to darken some of the leaves. And this is not good for the nib, but it's my marker. I do what I want. That's going to force me to have some leaves really be a darker color than the other ones, which is hopefully, I think, going to make the image a bit more interesting. Something like that. Let me clean off the nib. Good. There we go. And I would also like to have a green marker. Where are you? Come here. Maybe one of these. It's probably too colorful. That works. I'm thinking for these stupid stems. And I will mute those down with grey, but at least this way I'll get a uniform base. And I won't have to like, I don't know, I just, every sort of cheat is a good cheat in my book. Okay, now I feel like I need to add a bit of that down here as well. Let's just go in some shadows here. something like that. Okay. And now for the real heavy questions here. Which color should the leaves be shaded with? Because sure, they have some shading now, really, but I want the real corners of them to be even darker. And I could go with indigo. Or I could go for something crazy like red violet. Shall we try that? You can see, now I'm not even thinking about the color palette anymore. Because like I have the vibe I wanted from that, I think. So if I want to add something more now, that's totally alright. But maybe wait a bit with that and think about the flowers instead. What would you do? Would you leave them white or would you go for another color? Okay, this is not how you're supposed to do it, okay? Like, grab a pencil or something. Not a pencil, a brush. See, like this. Yeah, I can do that as well. Except I'm too lazy. Okay. What did we say? The flowers and stuff like that. Okay, let's go for the buds first. And I'll bring in a marker again. Yeah, sure. Okay. It's almost too yellow, but it's fine. I'll dampen that down with this color. And that's olive green yellowish. So I'm just kind of messily trying to shade the bottom part, but not really caring too much. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to really messily color the flowers a bit creamish. And this is quite hard pressure because I want a bit smeared look. And yeah, okay. So just the parts that are disturbing me, I'm going to color over them. Try to smooth it out a bit. Okay, so yeah, my camera died. And I finished it on my own. But this is how it turned out. I think what I did in between the parts you didn't see was I went in with my eraser and made highlights in the leaves. So you see, I think they're much lighter than they were before. Then I went in with let me see here, the dark indigo polychromos, the olive green yellowish, and the cream in each of the leaves, and shaded in the shading and smoothed out the edges created by the razor. And then I went in with the earth green and colored all the tops of the leaves. So you see, all the tops of the leaves now have that green color. And yeah. Then I went in with the green yellowish again also, and did some strokes in these flowers up here. And yeah, those are the main bits. The birds are colored with a base of indigo, dark indigo polychromos, over the whole bird, everything. And then I went in with black and pressed out, like with kind of hard pressure, did the shading on the birds. And then I went in with white over the dark indigo and made the highlights on the top of the bird. And then I smoothed everything out with the indigo. Same for both of them. The details are in some golden gel pen, which I also added in the small flowers down here and in the center of the white flowers. The white flowers also got black fine liner over the top of them again, to make them stand out a bit more. And I think that's that. So this took me like maybe 2 hours, 2.5. And oh yeah, I did in the background as well also. That's with the fine liner. And yeah. So it's a bit of a pity that I lost that footage, but hey, at least you get something. So yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.